Hey everyone, how you doing? Ron here with TechTipsToGo. So in today's video, I have a great one. I had the opportunity to sit down with Tim Boss to go over the latest release announcement, the partnership with Tencent and ShareRing Global. So if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. So let's get into the video. Welcome everyone. This is Ron with TechTipsToGo. So today we have a very special guest today that is going to be talking about one of the latest NDAs that are going to be released. And we have the one and only Tim Boss, Mr. Tim Boss. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Tim Boss, he's the CEO and co-founder of ShareRing Global. So welcome, Tim. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Good, thanks, Ron.
Good, good. So I see you've been very, very busy lately.
That's an understatement. Yes. I
Yeah,
mean, actually, I would say the last 3 years have been busy, but I think we've gone into overdrive over the last few weeks.
like they say, no pain, no gain.
It's true.
That's great. So let's kick things off. So for those of you who don't know Tim Boss and ShareRing, maybe you'd like to give a little background about yourself, the company, and more.
Yeah, sure. So I started my first startup in 2004, focused on sort of GPS tracking and telematics, and then moved into sharing economy in about 2010 by starting a peer-to-peer caravan rental business that I sold to an Australian listed company. Then I started Keys, which was a car sharing platform. In about 2012, we started developing that, and then we actually sold that company at the start of this year. So the idea for sharing had been really brewing in my mind for many years, and blockchain tech was something that actually made it possible to solve some of the big problems that we had with developing a bit, I guess, a ubiquitous platform for the sharing economy. So that's sort of what drove us to create sharing, and we haven't looked back since. But in terms of the company itself, what we're basically doing is looking at sort of creating the backbone of the next generation sharing economy. The areas that we operate within, most people think of us as a travel company, but that's not true. We do operate in travel, aviation, finance and banking, government, cities, logistics, transportation. So all of those areas, we're basically focusing on. Travel, obviously, being one of the first things that we market. And these are sort of underpinned by our technologies such as our self-sovereign identity platform, document storage and verification, some on-demand services such as rental protocols, purchasing protocols, peer-to-peer marketplace, and then also micropayments and cross-border payments as well. So yeah, I mean that's basically it in a nutshell.
Wow, yeah, I did actually see a lot of articles on Forbes with self-sovereign identity, which was
Mm.
kind of really eye-catching, especially being featured twice in Forbes in the last month. So that was
Yep.
pretty incredible. So now let's get into this big question. The release of the NDA and the partnership with Tencent. So congratulations on that. Can you give us an overview, the relationship with Tencent? What can you tell us about it, and how big is this for sharing?
Yeah, so we've actually been working directly with Tencent since I would say probably April or May of this year. So it has been pretty kept under wraps very effectively for quite a while. And Tencent have worked closely with us on some of our identity management technology. So we work with their tech teams on things like our OCR, supporting more and more identities, things like scanning of hotel bookings, flight receipts, a lot of things that aren't available in any other sort of OCR or AI type platforms. Also, the validation, verification of that information. We're working with them to run some masternodes on their platform. We're working with them there's a heap of stuff that we're working in technology. But I mean, I guess the other side of the coin is really they've been supporting us in the development of a mini app for the WeChat software. So basically moving some of the sharing ecosystem over to WeChat. We're working with them on a number of sales opportunities. So we're jointly sort of looking at some sales opportunities that we're working with them on in Thailand and a number of other places as well. So yeah, I mean, we have regular sort of weekly or bi-weekly calls with the team at Tencent, and we've developed a very strong relationship with them.
Wow, that's actually pretty interesting. When I actually heard that you mentioned Tencent's going to be acquiring Masternodes. So can you elaborate more on that and how that'll kind of play a factor in the share ledger ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that we can open it up so that their team and stuff can look at what's possible with the sharing platform as well. So I think this isn't about just a customer supplier relationship. This is truly a sort of us working together and making sure that we give them an opportunity to leverage share ledger as well in anything that they are planning on doing in the future.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Okay, so I've got a lot of questions here from the community. Probably a lot, way too many for us to go over. But our next question is, what are you most looking forward to next?
Taking a holiday. No, actually, so in terms of the company itself, I think you're going to see a slowdown in partnership announcements and then a ramp up in product releases. So we've really got everything we need in place in terms of partnerships, collaboration agreements, technology agreements, and all of that. So the next announcement you'll see from us is actually the product release, which will be the app with ShareRing ID loaded into it, travel shortly after, updates to the shop platform. So yeah, we've got the full roadmap basically planned out as well around that.
Wow, that's great. Now, you mentioning Tencent and all of the other relationships that we've heard over the last year, the last 2 years with DeFi Insurance, EVOAs, Viator, Expedia relationship. A question that I get asked a lot is, what kind of transaction volume do you expect in Q1 and Q2?
It's a very good question, and we either smash our goals in terms of what we're trying to achieve in transaction volume, or we're very, very short of it. So I've actually stopped giving estimates of the actual transaction volumes that we're going to achieve. I think what we prefer to do is really our focus is on achieving transaction volumes, because that's how we all make money, right? So that's no secret. So our focus right now is, when we launch the app, is how do we get signups, because signups will drive transaction volume. And then after that, we look at open world passport, which is the COVID stuff. As you said, the activities, the EVs are on arrival, and all of those, is to make sure that we launch those in a way that maximize the number of users, which also maximize the number of transactions. So it's impossible to tell, because we don't know when borders are opening up again. We don't know where the demand is right now in terms of some of the travel related stuff, or if we should focus more heavily on the banking stuff at the moment. So yeah, the numbers change almost daily in terms of where our forecasts are with that.
That's great.
Sorry about that, the very long non-answer there.
That's okay, no problem. Okay, so the next question is, how many users do you expect to have using ShareRing daily from the white label solutions, so the underlying API technology that you've been talking about?
So we this is going to be another non-answer.
Okay.
It's like a politician's answer, right?
Right.
So we do have some sort of high level forecasts, and one of the benefits of being a B2B to C company is that we can leverage the customer base or the user base of our existing customers and partners that come into our platform, and that user base will use a lot of the other services that we have on offer. So we've got some short, medium, long-term goals that sort of start at 10,000 users to 100,000 to 500,000 users, basically signing up, getting ID, and using certain aspects of our platform. We've got some sort of ideas from some of our partners and some of the, I guess, government-related opportunities that we're working on in terms of what numbers of people they're expecting. One, for example, gave us a number of for immigrant workers that we're talking about, which was about 3 million travelers for next year.
Wow.
But we don't expect to have all 3 million on our platform. We expect to have a portion of that. So once again, the numbers vary depending on what services we're offering.
That's great. All right, so the next question is, how are things with the BSN? I recently saw an article with the BSN in Forbes.com, so congratulations on that. So what do you expect for that relationship with the BSN going forward?
Yeah, I mean, BSN's great for us, and one of the reasons why is it puts more eyeballs on sharing. So one of the biggest benefits of BSN is companies that need technology and tools that are supported by blockchain have an easy way to access those tools and APIs and all of that. So BSN is actually providing a really effective funnel. And it means that these companies don't need to, I guess, marry into a single blockchain platform. Like, they don't have to come to ShareRing and only use ShareRing for all of what they need. They can sort of cherry pick and say, oh, we'll use through the BSN some services of ShareRing, we'll use some services, dApps that are built on Ethereum, and so on. So there's a lot of benefits for that. And what that effectively does for us is it just makes more companies or more people use certain aspects of our platform. So next steps for us on BSN is to actually finish some levels of the integration on the API, publish all of that on our website so that people can start accessing it more easily and more quickly. And then we're also working with BSN to help promote some of the other projects as well. So, we've got a very, very strong relationship with the team at BSN. So, the first plan is international, and then we look at sort of how we can do the China specific stuff as well for the permissioned blockchain requirements that they've got in China.
Oh, wow. That's great. Okay, so this is a pretty challenging question. What was your biggest challenge for the year, and how did you overcome it?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I guess the easy answer would be COVID, but in a sense, I would actually say from a purely a business perspective, COVID might have been a bit of a blessing in disguise for us in terms of where our focus was. And instead of having a very, very straight, narrow focus on some of the travel products we were going to launch in March, what it allowed us to do is open that focus up a fair bit and address some other areas that were longer term in our roadmap. And that in itself was a challenge, because what we needed to do is say, instead of doing what a lot of other companies were doing, which was pull back, save our money, and try not to do anything this year and just make sure we survive. Instead, what we did, and it's really, really good that we did, is we actually focused on growth. So we invested more money, we hired more people, we made other investments, and basically grew the company and accelerated development in a number of areas, so that at the back of this COVID, we can actually come out a lot stronger than we would have otherwise. And it's actually starting to pay off for us in a big way.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of news and some rumors about the ShareRing shop in Australia and in Thailand. So I'll get into those questions later. But as we go through the Telegram channels, you see a lot of people talking about it. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so great. So where do you see ShareRing next year?
So next year for ShareRing, our focus is on user growth. So, we've got a roadmap of products that we're going to be releasing, and the areas that we focus on next year really are and not necessarily on bringing more and more partners on board. It's really on how do we focus on with the existing partners to get user growth, get the products out the door, also involve the community as well in terms of their skills in helping to build our products and allowing them to build their own products on our blockchain as well. So, if you sort of say next year for us is growth. It's transaction numbers, it's revenue, it's growth, it's community involvement, and more products. Because this year was all about building the foundations.
That's great. All right, so the next question we heard about is DeFi. So I know in one of your last AMAs you did discuss DeFi. So a lot of questions are, when is DeFi products going to be live?
Yeah, so first priority at the moment is to get the apps out with sharing ID sign up, with the wallet functionality, and a bunch of other things in that. DeFi will happen either in parallel or shortly after that. So DeFi is basically a foundational part of our sharing pay platform, which is the payment system. So the ability, what it does is it basically will make it easier and faster for us and cheaper for us to do currency exchange across different currencies by allowing people to effectively stake various stable coins or even fiat currencies to basically allow for quick and easy swaps across currencies.
Okay, so for the next question, this is a question that a lot of people were asking in the Telegram group, was can you give us an update on the ShareRing Shops in Australia and in Thailand and beyond?
Yep. So Thailand, through our partner there, we've also got other additional sort of go-to-market partners. The plan there is to launch that At this stage, they're looking at sort of mid to late December for the launch of that. ShareRing Shop in Australia is going through a relaunch with another partner. So our plan with ShareRing Shop was always to basically incubate it ourselves, to show that it works, to show that you can make money, learn as much as we can from it, get some customers to use it, and then look for partners who will actually roll it out under their name, powered by ShareRing. Because we're not an operational company. We don't want to do deliveries and all that sort of stuff. It's not who we are. We're a platform company, and we provide the technology. So that Australian one is launching imminently. Like it's
Oh, wow.
and this week or next week, that'll basically be launching under a new name, and then that'll be advertised then. So they're starting off sort of with web, and then when we launch the app at the end of the year, then that'll actually incorporate some of the shop functionality. So within the app, you can actually shop through the app as well.
Oh, wow. Any specific dates that are close for Thailand or?
For Thailand, I mean, what I've been told is late December.
Okay, great. That's good. Okay, great. So let's get into some of the community questions. And if you're not familiar with the sharing community, there are a couple of questions. There are a couple of Telegram groups. We have the Sharing Hodlers group as well as the Sharing main group. And if you wanted to ever ask questions for the next live AMA, you could always do a hashtag SHRAMA. So we're going to start off with some of the first questions that the community has asked. And the first question that was asked was, any chance we'll be able to stake from our cold storage devices?
So I mean, staking from things like Ledger and Trezor and that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So
Oh, perfect.
I guess one of the big benefits that we've chosen Tendermint and Cosmos is that it does actually have native support for Ledger devices and cold storage devices. So there's no reason why you won't be able to stake from those.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so the next question is, I was wondering if the team is making an Explorer with a better user interface and visualization of transactions like Elvin told us in his weekly AMA on October 7th.
Yeah, so that the updated Explorer has been launched and it is going through other updates. So we do have a roadmap for that Explorer. So, some of the things on our roadmap is to, I guess, is to extrapolate out the transaction types so people can see, look, there's been a sharing ID transaction or things like that. So at the moment, you can sort of see them flowing through, but what we want to do is provide some good reporting so people can graph out the type of transactions. We could even go down the point to sort of see the merchants they're coming from and things like that if we decide to open that up.
So the next question is there any dates when the sharing wallet will come out? And what are the condition requirements for staking our share tokens with the Masternode?
Yep. So before the end of the year. So we're looking at mid-December for the release of the app.
Oh, wow. Exciting. Excited for that. Okay, that was Sharing Shop. Next question. Has the team's success regarding the onboarding clients and the development of the product offering fulfilled your expectations and targets?
In terms of timeline targets, I mean, we've missed a lot of sort of deadlines that we've set, and some of the reasons why is this is not easy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're doing stuff that people haven't really done before, and we're sort of stretching sort of the boundaries of what we can do with the technology. But I mean, I guess one of the other things is sharing ID's gone through a lot of different iterations for us in the past, sort of 18 months. And we started with this concept of sharing ID where we decided that when people sign up for an ID, it would be passport, driver's license, in India, maybe an Aadhaar card or something like that. And we as a company would verify it. So we would reach out to Onfido or a verification partner. We would verify it, we would log that verification in and do the digital identity or the hash on the blockchain. And then that would be it, right? So what we decided over the last few months is it doesn't make sense for that. What it does is it makes us a bottleneck, and it also creates a single point of failure, which is us as a company. So what we decided to do is actually effectively redesign sharing ID to make it so that it's flexible and us as a company doesn't have to verify every ID in that process. And we're going to publish more information about that soon, but it's something that I guess none of the other digital identity or even self-sovereign identity providers actually do, which is the ability to create verification of an ID that may or may not be trusted by the third party that's receiving it. So, for example, let's use COVID testing as an example. So I go to a test center, they do a COVID test, maybe they verify it. So they'll actually create a hash on the blockchain, send me the document. I have that in my ShareRing ID folio. And then I travel to, say, Sri Lanka. And when I travel to Sri Lanka, I show them that ID, and then they'll look at it and say, oh, that was verified by test center ABC. We don't support that test center. So they can actually choose, even though it says verified, but it's verified by this test center, they may or may not support that. But test center XYZ, they may support. So we've created this sort of web of identity verification that's, no one else is really doing that at the moment.
That's great. That's great. Now, the next question kind of relates to what you were talking about, COVID, and what the specific question was, could you tell us more about the plans regarding the travel part of ShareRing and about the app launch? Is there any connection to the COVID pass?
Yeah, so we're actually treating COVID pass and ShareRing travel as two distinctly separate areas, and not to say that they will sort of obviously potentially be used together. But some of the companies and partners we're talking to around COVID Pass, they're looking at sort of being the consumers of the identity or the COVID tests of that data. So, we are sort of creating the modules separately and looking at them separately. COVID Pass, there's a lot of discussions going on at the moment. It's a slow process. We're talking about getting approval from governments and legislation to say that they accept this and this is how they'll open the borders up. And it's not a matter of just saying, hey, look, we can show if someone's had a test or not. It's a matter of them saying, A, do they trust those results? B, do they want to open the borders even if there are negative tests? And, there's a huge amount going on in the background in terms of that. And we've got a whole team that's dedicated to that.
So for the next question, they asked, are there any opportunities that exist in your marketplace, and do you think there are any that you could take advantage of?
So we've got more opportunities right now than we can handle. So we need to cherry pick the ones that will give us and the project the biggest benefits, and then also ones that we have the highest chance of actually rolling out quickly. So it's a good position to be in, to be able to actually say no to opportunities that come to you. We do have people in the community come to us with opportunities very, very often, and we listen to those. We don't forget about them. We do try to sort of respond and action those activities. And what I'm hoping is that we get to this position in a few months' time, maybe even 6 months' time, where if someone in the community has an opportunity, they don't have to rely specifically on us to take action on that opportunity, that they can actually do something and build a project around it and put it on our platform without too much effort from us. So hoping that we get to that point.
All right, so that was all the questions from the ShareRing AMA. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover, tell the audience, anything that you wanted to release?
No, I mean, that was a great question. I mean, I guess the release was the Tencent stuff at the start. We spoke about some delivery dates on the app. We're going to sort of do a very, very soon. The app itself is code complete. So we're right now we're basically going through testing. There's a small change that we're going to do on the way that we do the hashing of the documents for the ID. And then, it's basically test, and then release. We are going to run a campaign soon as well to get more people to sign up for ShareRing ID. So definitely keep an eye out for that, because there'll be some giveaways as part of that if you sign up early.
Oh, wow. So I actually have a couple of questions for the Tencent. How is that going to be? Is it going to be like powered by ShareRing when a user opens up the mobile app?
So it's not going to be... So with our app, it's actually going to be a ShareRing branded app. So the way that the app itself works is we release a ShareRing branded app, and then any of our, say, business to business partners that come on will get a module within that app. So, for example, if a bank signs up with us to allow for easy sign on, they will have their own app, and they might have a website to allow for quick sign up and sign in. But we'll optionally also add them as a sort of as kind of like a mini app inside our app, where people can use sign up for their bank and use their bank. So at the moment in the app, we've got, I'm just looking now, so we've basically got accommodation, we've got activities, we've got shop in there, we're adding flights, and then there's there'll be things like ferries and that sort of stuff as well, so travel stuff. But yeah, I mean it'll really sort of just be more sort of, I guess, icons on the app that people can use.
Okay, it's really exciting. That's good. Okay, great. So that's all for the questions.
Cool.
I thank Mr. Tim Boss for joining the AMA and the video. So we're going to be listening to more AMAs coming up soon with exchanges and more. So thank you for your time, Tim.
Great. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, you're welcome.